It's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. The Afghan migrant cover-up is worse than you could ever imagine, and...
Go, yalla. Yalla. There's no way this guy's doing it. Oh, no.
Well, there's a big update on that feral schoolboy yob. Madness. Britain's population will grow faster than any major European country. Plus...
Just try and whack it. Yes, this is good. And again. That's it. And again. Try and breathe. Relax.
Meltdown. Sir Keir Starmer expels 4 Labour MPs, and one of them talks this utter nonsense.
To shout so much more and say 20,000 is not enough, because what does it matter if we have to wait another week for a hospital visit?
Well, quite a lot, actually, and good riddance. Also...
That's going to cost an awful lot of money, Mr Farage. The anti-net zero plans of reform will knock nearly £100 billion off of our economy.
So, the ex-Labour and Just Stop Oil donor Dale Vince apparently wants climate denial to be illegal. On my panel tonight, we have got political commentator Emily Sheffield, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and Labour councillor Sebastian Sarlak. Oh, and what on earth is all this about? Yeah, all that and more, and of course from 11 p.m. until midnight, it's Late Edition, a detailed look at tomorrow's front pages, some breaking news, including, apparently, something on the Epstein files. So get ready, Britain, here we go. Get ready for an unbelievable population explosion. Next.
Good evening. The top story. Sir Keir Starmer says former Tory ministers have serious questions to answer about the names of Afghans who worked with UK forces who were exposed. Thousands of Afghan nationals are being relocated to the UK after their names were accidentally sent in an email in February of 2022. But the leak was only discovered by the British military in 2023. A super injunction preventing the reporting of that mistake was imposed that year in an attempt to prevent the Taliban from finding out about the leak. That injunction was lifted yesterday. Sir Keir Starmer has suspended 4 Labour MPs over breaching party discipline. Rachel Maskell, Neil Duncan-Jordan, Brian Leishman and Chris Hinchcliffe have all had the party whip removed, meaning the MPs will sit as independents in the House of Commons. Senior Labour sources have not ruled out further MPs, including from earlier parliamentary intakes, being suspended today. The move comes after 47 Labour MPs rebelled against the government's proposed cuts to welfare and forced ministers to water down their plans. Donald Trump addressed the Jeffrey Epstein files whilst meeting with the Crown Prince of Bahrain at the White House today. The US president said people who believe the Epstein files are stupid, adding the credible files should now be released. The president also denied that he plans to fire Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, contradicting a senior White House official. He also said he was, quote, he has pretty good trade deals to announce, adding maybe with India. In other news, the Prevent scheme must rapidly adapt to online radicalisation. A major review has warned today. It follows terror attacks by Axel Rudakabana and Sir David Amos's killer, both previously referred to the scheme. New Commissioner Lord Anderson has made 10 recommendations to overhaul Prevent's approach, including better tracking of violent ideologies and online behaviour. The High Court has ruled in favour of Lindsay Smith in her case against Northumbria Police. Ms Smith launched a case against the force after claiming their uniformed participation in a Pride march last year broke the professional oath sworn by each police officer to act with impartiality at work. In a landmark High Court ruling today, a judge found that there would have been issues in policing with impartiality if, for example, an attempted counter-demonstration by gender-critical people had broken out. And Prince Harry's travelled to Angola to back landmine clearance nearly 3 decades after Princess Diana's visit. Prince Harry spoke to families who live near Africa's largest minefield as part of Halo's community outreach programme, which aims to keep people safe from landmines until they're cleared by trained experts. Princess Diana advocated for landmine clearance when she visited the central Angolan city of Huambo 28 years ago. And those are the latest headlines for now. More news in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. Major news today. The UK's population is going to rise faster than any major European country. There are 69.6 million people in Britain now, ignoring all the illegals that we don't seem to know about, and that will rise to 74.3 million by the end of the century. That is an increase of 6.8%. Now, cumulative net migration to the UK will total 14.3 million by the end of the century. But get this. That is almost double the population rise than for France, and just under a quarter that for Germany. So we should probably visualise this a little bit, shouldn't we? So France is 2.23 times the size of Britain, so more than double the size. Germany is roughly 1.5 times the size of the UK. So we're going to cram all those people into our tiny little island. Any guesses, anyone, about what's causing this?
Immigration. UK immigration.
I'm glad she now wants to talk about immigration.
Yeah, mass immigration. Now, people say that the UK population would fall by more than a quarter to below 50 million by 2100, which is roughly what the population was in 1950 if we didn't have mass immigration. And that is because the birth rate is falling. And we're told this is a disastrous thing, OK? But I think there's a fatal basic flaw in those figures. Immigration puts a strain on everything, certainly at this rate that we're having it anyway. Housing, NHS waiting times, school places, crime. So, for example, foreigners account for up to a quarter of all sex crime convictions. I mean, look at what it's doing to your tax bill. I mean, literally this time yesterday, I was sat in this chair staring down this camera talking to you about the fact that it costs us nearly £1 billion a month to pay universal credit for foreign people living here in this country. Do you not think that if Brits had better access to housing, healthcare, school places, they weren't afraid of being raped or stabbed for their watch, and they had more money in their pocket because they weren't forking out for a migrant hotel at the end of their road, that maybe they might start having more kids? I think Britain has had enough of politicians like this.
To shout so much more and say 20,000 is not enough, 30,000 is not enough. Saturation point, because what does it matter if we have to wait another week for a hospital visit, or if our class sizes are slightly bigger, or if our city is slightly fuller? What does it matter if things are slightly more challenging, if we have to pay a little bit more into the system? Surely it is worth it to see those lives being restored again.
It's not worth it. It's not. Today's figures that Britain's population will grow faster than any major European country mean it's time to stand up now, I think, for our nation, our way of life, our culture, and probably stop letting so many people in. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We have got journalist, former editor of London Evening Standard, Emily Sheffield. We've got businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and also Labour councillor Sebastian Sallow. Emily, I'll start with you. So, yeah, this rapid population growth spurred on by mass immigration, in fact, almost entirely by mass immigration, doesn't really seem sustainable. Are you concerned by it?
I'm not concerned about a figure that's been sort of flung so far down the line 75 years ago. When you actually divide it up, that's sort of a gain of 66,000 people a year. I would say that's could be seen as quite normal for a period like that. I think we should be focusing far harder on what's happening right now. We've had, since 2021, 125,000 people at a very conservative element arrive here illegally on small boats. That is not counting the ones that we don't know about, who haven't been tracked here, who have overseen their visas. So, I mean, although I understand this makes a great story, but, you know, that's 75 years down the line. We need to focus on what's going on in our country right now. And that, as you very rightly pointed out, is that we have got a population which is not going to grow because people don't want to have children. And you're about to have a baby yourself. It's people are worrying that we're now going below 2 children per average couple here because people are scared of the economic consequences of having children. They don't feel they can get access to a house. They don't know how they're going to pay for their mortgage even if they have a house. They're worried about AI and the effect that's going to have them on the jobs. And I'd say even much worse is in sort of economically challenged areas in this country where they feel, as you rightly say, they are being dumped with all the migrant hotels and lots of people don't really quite understand how that feels unless that's happening in your area, but they feel forgotten about. And I think that's a huge reason why we are seeing a surge in reform, because there is a huge split in this country between, I would say, areas of this country who have gained in the last 25, 30 years, areas that have continued to go downhill and globalisation has hit them again and again and again, and also something that rarely gets talked about enough, I think, is between an asset-owning class and those who don't own assets. And I grew up under a Conservative Party who helped people get their own home, who helped them gain an asset, and we seem to have completely lost sight of that.
Adam, are you concerned about that, or is it, you know, is this kind of far-away, distant figure?
Of course I'm concerned, because I don't actually believe it. I believe we're going to hit those sort of numbers in 10 years, because this country is the dustbin now of the world. The rest of Europe is pulling up their drawbridges, and those people will come here. I've seen estimates of between 1 and 2 million illegal immigrants in this country. And when the people that are coming across on the boats, the 150,000 or whatever it is in the last 5 years, get leave to remain, they will bring 4 or 5 family members over as well. We could be looking at 1 million people just from crossing the channel in the next few years. Look, it's, again, socially, our culture is changing. We see in areas of London where, you know, it just doesn't look like Britain anymore. The cost, 1.3 billion are claiming, 1.3 million foreigners are claiming benefits. That's 12 billion a year. How can we afford that? And there's more coming. The crime, rape is up over the last 10 years, 300%. Now, as a father of 2 daughters, that is scary. Our culture is changing and crime is spiralling.
Yeah, well, what's your reaction to those figures then, Sebastian, when we see that? Do you think we need to do anything about that, or are you just happy to kind of let it ride?
Well, I'm a bit confused why we're comparing Britain with France and Germany. We should be comparing Britain with Britain. And if you look at it, the rate was, what, 6.8%? That is half the rate of population growth we've had since the start of the millennium. So what we're really seeing is a great slowing of population growth. And the reason for that, as Emily says, people aren't having enough children. And I completely see why that's happening. I'm of prime child-rearing age myself. It's not happening anytime soon. Same with my friends. We just can't afford it. Many people still rent. They don't have the security. They can get kicked out of their homes whenever the landlord wants. That base that our parents' generation had, we just don't have. So you can't blame people for not wanting...
Yeah, but then should we be trying to counter that population reduction by just bringing in millions of people from all over the world that maybe have different cultures? And also, I would put it to you, it sounds to me as though one of the reasons why maybe you're putting the brakes on fatherhood for a little while is because you actually care about being able to provide for your own kids in a way that potentially other people don't. They will just have as many kids as they want, don't really seem to mind that the state will be willing to pay for them.
I think everybody cares about their children and wants to give them the best start in life and indeed the best future. But do we need to do something about it? Yes, the reality of this is that people don't come to this country for a laugh. They come to, most of them, do a job. And they come to do a job that we need doing. The reason they're coming is because we don't have anyone here to do it. So we need to increase the population. That's going to take time. But in the more immediate term, we need to be training people up. And I'm pleased to see the government talking about this, making sure that there's a homegrown talent pool that could do the jobs that we need.
Do you buy that? Because there are issues to this. If we take that to a logical conclusion that, you know, this X amount of people are going to come in over the next however many years, and that's going to be almost entirely down to our population growth. That's the only way we're going to grow our population. My concern will be, well, what cultures are some of those people coming from?
Yes, I agree, but I still think it comes back to the same problem. There is a reason here that people are not having more children. They don't feel economically safe. They don't feel that their children are going to have a good future. Part of the reason, and not wholly of the reason, of the big surge in immigration that happened from Boris Johnson, yes, let's put a fat chunk of that down to incompetence, but a lot of it was to fill huge gaps in social care and the NHS. And that is because we're not making these jobs attractive enough. We're not paying them enough. Maybe their hours are not great. You know, the NHS feels like such an amorphous blob now. I don't know how Labour's going to get a grip on it. I don't know how anyone's going to get a grip on it. But it still comes back to lots of people in this country, in lots of different areas, London included, who are like, how am I going to provide for my children? And therefore, I'm not going to have any. Now, that is going to be a massive problem.
It is. What it doesn't say in those figures, it talks about just purely population growth. It doesn't talk about the economy. I mean, there is this kind of giant migration Ponzi scheme going on, which is that we're using it to basically kind of mainline mass immigration in order to just about prop up GDP.
And keep our universities.
But GDP per capita is getting worse. Now, I suppose a lot of people might be looking at these figures, Adam, and thinking, okay, it's all very well and good in, you know, having this amount of people enter the country, you know, over the course of the next 70 years or so. But does that mean that more people, like, dare I say, all of us here, are actually going to end up paying more to pay for them?
Of course. Look, people around the world look at this country as a joke and look at us now as think, right, we can go there and we can get benefits, we can get a house, both legally and illegally, to cross. They know that our governments just hand out money. It is that stupid. Look, low-wage migrants cost the taxpayer 150 grand a year, 150 grand by the time they're 66 in this country. A British-born inputs 280 grand to the Treasury. So, look, there's a massive drain on people coming to this country and it costing people like you, me and us. So our taxes will have to go up. But we've got a government that won't even deport foreign criminals. You know, what chance have we got to drive people out of this country or you know, or improve it?
Well, one of the few things that I must say I did agree with Sir Keir Starmer on, but I think he's U-turned and then now U-turned back on it again, so I'm not entirely sure where he is in the island of strangers stuff anymore. I think he's just about come back in line with that. It was the right thing to say. But this isn't going to help, is it? You know, importing this many people from, like, all over the world. I mean, Britain's not really going to feel British, I suppose, anymore, is it?
I think it is. Depends what you think British is. If you think it's white, then you might have a problem. I revel in the diversity of Britain. I'm the product of it myself. You know, both of my parents moved here from other countries, and I like to think I'm as British as anyone else around this table. And I think it's more me's that we're going to produce as a result of this, because people are going to come here, fall in love, stay, contribute to the economy.
Is that the case in Oldham?
In Oldham? I couldn't say. I've never been to Oldham, but I live in one of the most diverse parts of the country, in East London, and it's certainly the case there. And we're all the better off.
Tower Hamlets in East London?
Tower Hamlets is in East London. I'm in Waltham Forest.
Right.
And
how is it in Tower Hamlets?
I don't know.
Right.
It's also not a Labour-run council.
No, I get it. But there's these parts of the country where I think people do, you know, with respect, toss out things about, like, you know, you obviously are, you know, fantastic human being, probably. But, I do look at a lot of places, like, dotted around the country where I don't really think we can say that we are necessarily going to churn out, you know, 10 million U's. No. Are we? I don't know.
They can't even speak English. Let's be honest here. I forget what the stats are now, but isn't it something like 1 in 10 or something can't speak English in this country? A mad stat. Now, how are they ever going to integrate? How are we going to go forward and stay British if people can't even speak our language?
Well, I'll let you come back to that. So you're not worried about integration, basically?
No, integration is key. It's really, really important. People have to learn the language. They have to contribute to society. That is really essential, because what we can't have is ghettoisation. Nobody wins from that. Not people who are born here, not people who move here. We have to see people integrating. That is one of the really important things.
Final word to you, Emily, on this. You're shaking your head.
No, I'm agreeing. I think integration is really, really vital, and no one should be given citizenship here until the rules around what integration feel really, really tough. And I think the reason that lots of people feel angry about the ECHR is this right to bring family members in, because it's this feeling that large clans of families are coming, sort of hunkering down together in parts of the country and then not integrating. Now, one hopes that 2-3 generations down the line, that integration is much stronger. But how much evidence do we have for this? The trouble is just like the grooming gangs, we're so scared, people are so scared of being sort of termed racist, that we're not revealing data, we're not doing enough research about it. It's sort of being squashed, and I think that's wrong. It's good that we're talking about immigration now, because this anger, if not, you know, these sort of untrustworthy feelings, misinformation flying around, this is going to fuel sort of riots like we've just seen in Northern Ireland.
Well, it's an interesting point to leave it on, because, well, actually, a couple of points, actually. We are potentially going to go to Northern Ireland a little bit later on, where our Northern Ireland reporter is, we think anyway, going to be at what is set to be a big protest. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the details on that are, but he's got wind of something over there. He's going to be bringing that to us. And at 10 p.m. anyway, we're going to be having a conversation in light of this kind of cover-up that's been going on about the Afghan, I suppose, what would you call it, the Afghan resettlement scheme, whatever it was called. You know, how many cover-ups are there going on, really? You know, do we really know the fact there's that sense of unease, I think, in the country, isn't there? But I do now have to read out a statement from Rachel Maskell, who actually also is going to be appearing on the show later. Responding to criticism of that now resurfaced clip from 2015, Rachel Maskell said, "I'm not saying open the doors and everyone can come in. It has to be part of a controlled system. I am saying that we have to do more. I'm talking about 6 refugees in each constituency. That really is the limit. We can all have a bit more compassion. If it was the other way around and we were in that desperate situation, we would expect somebody to show compassion to us." Right, OK, just slightly more nuanced there than what she said on stage. But anyway, well, here we go. In other news, there is the chance still for you to grab 54,321 quid in cash. Yes, it's the Great British Giveaway, and you could be in it to win it. Here's how.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, good luck, everybody. Now, coming up.
In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Well, it's quite a stats-heavy show, this, because there are some new stats on the issues that people fear about in this country, and that, unsurprisingly, includes freedom of speech. People feel as though they are being silenced. So I'm going to reveal all about that shortly. Maybe it relates to you at home. But first...
A gang of young men come into your house, they take your girlfriend, they take your mother, they put her onto the table, and they gang rape her in front of you.
Yes, OK, so I'm at pains to stress now I'm not talking about the man who you just saw in that clip. That was, of course, Roger Hallam for Extinction Rebellion. But a former Labour donor and eco-activist thinks that so-called climate denial should now be made a criminal offence. But somehow what we just heard there, that climate alarmism, that's OK, apparently. So should climate denial really be made illegal in Britain? Stay tuned.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Well, welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. So coming up, we're going to be talking about is free speech dead in Britain. There's quite a staggering development, by the way, as well on this Afghan resettlement scheme that is by far and away probably one of the biggest scandals of modern times. But first, should so-called climate denial be made illegal? It's time now for the head-to-head. OK, so money previously donated to the Labour Party, Dale Vince, has called for so-called climate denial to be made a criminal offence as he backed Energy Secretary Ed Miliband in his row with Reform over net zero. So over the weekend, the Energy Secretary accused Nigel Farage's party of being unpatriotic for opposing the government's goal of reaching net zero emissions. Vince, who is the founder of the energy company Ecotricity and has previously donated more than £5 million to the Labour Party, wrote on X, "Good move from Ed. It's time to tell it like it is. I'd make climate denial a criminal offence myself, given the incredible harm that it will cause, even by slowing down progress to net zero." But left many people scratching their heads, didn't it, really? How could the mad ramblings of Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion co-founder Roger Hallam somehow be OK, but climate denial be made illegal?
The other thing about social collapse is the complete loss of material security, or law and order, as you might say. a gang of young men come into your house, they take your girlfriend, they take your mother, they put her onto the table and they gang rape her in front of you. And then after that, they take a hot stick and they poke out your eyes and they blind you.
Lots going on there, but where did the hot stick come from? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, whatever. I think he is actually now in prison, just not for that. But anyway, tonight I'm asking, should so-called climate denial actually be made illegal? Go to your say, of course, for your views, but going head-to-head on this now are the leader of the Climate Party, Ed Gemmell, and the co-founder of Climate Debate UK, Ed Rennie, which now allows me to say for the first time ever, it's not just a head-to-head, it's an Ed-to-Ed. Ha! OK. Right, so, Ed Rennie, I'll start with you. Should climate denial be made illegal?
Well, as you said, it's so-called climate denial because, of course, this is one of those terms that gets used, which is meaningless in the English language because no one denies that there's a climate. What is climate denial? No one denies a climate. No one denies, in fact, climate change. No one really denies global warming at all either. What you have is a debate between those who think climate change and global warming are going to bring about catastrophic climate change that will affect human beings in disastrous ways and lead to a greater number of deaths and suffering and disease and so forth, and those who are extremely sceptical of that and say, actually, if you dig down into the evidence of a climate crisis or an emergency isn't really there. There is some evidence of increasing sea levels, and there is some evidence of increasing heat waves and other factors, but everything is very mixed. The evidence is very mixed on that. It's not clear-cut at all. And then making that illegal just shows that the other side of that debate are on the back foot. They're realising they're losing the argument. So then essentially they want to ban the argument. And it goes back to your freedom of speech report that you're coming back to.
OK. Ed Gemmell, leader of the Climate Party. Do you think climate denial should be considered an offence?
I mean, there's no question you have to have a definition of climate denial, and I think Ed was struggling to get one out there, and that would have to be part of this whole argument, because otherwise it's a bit pointless. But it's really not something new within British law. I mean, we've got the consumer protection laws, we've got the Financial Services Act, Fraud Act, Communications Act, Business Protection Act. All of them look at misleading information, being given falsely or knowingly to others and causing harm to them in those particular sectors. It's no different to that. So if what we were looking at is instead of just calling it climate denial, which doesn't really mean anything, but misleading or lying about the climate, particularly about facts about the science. I mean, Ed was mentioning we know that sea level is rising and that sort of thing. So people to be misleading about that and lying about it, yeah, that should be wrong in exactly the same way.
It should be illegal, though, seriously, illegal.
I think if you're in a position of responsibility, because all of these acts, they apply to the media, to financial services professionals, to business people, to those selling products, saying something misleading about it. And I think if you're in a position of responsibility and knowledge, then it should be illegal.
Is there not, Ed Rennie, is there not a problem that sometimes this so-called scientific facts change?
Yes, indeed, and the science is never settled on anything. That's the nature of science. And the point is that there should always be debate. And what this will do is it will stifle debate if they ever are crazy enough to implement something like this. But, of course, with this government going against freedom of speech in many ways, it wouldn't actually be a surprise. This is not just the ramblings of Dale Vince. There's been a United Nations report saying that, firms and whatever advertisers should be criminalised if they put out information like this. But it's ridiculous because ultimately what you can't... one person's misinformation is another person's fact. We've had this across all these debates over the last several years, when it came to the EU, when it came to the presidential elections in the US, when it comes to COVID, when it comes to vaccines, all these things, there is competing views within the scientific community, including on climate, and people who have been labelled deniers before turn out to be the more accurate scientists.
So you've got, certain people there who were saying things along the lines of, if it keeps going on, the climate the way it is at the moment, people are going to come round and gang rape your mother in front of you and all of this stuff. So that's all right. He can lob that stuff out there legally, and whilst I think he's an idiot and wrong, and it's actually pretty quite offensive and disgusting, really, I don't actually think that should be a crime that he said that. But if I said I don't think humans are causing climate change, then you'd put me in shackles, would you?
think putting you in shackles is slightly over the top, and most of the acts we talked about start off with, you know, raps on the fist or some financial penalties and that sort of thing.
But you would prosecute.
And I think, and I'm also not advocating for what we just heard as well before we started, but you've got to be able to come out in all these circumstances and deliver the actual facts. Now, just as you guys were debating that little bit before, they can change because clearly things can be updated. And even in what you've seen with government, they're updating the idea of risk within financial services now, right at the moment, in order to encourage investment. And so by doing that, they're going to change the legislation in some way in order to allow pension trustees and others to make more investments. So they're updating it. And when you update it, clearly things change. So what might be illegal today under certain financial services acts may not be tomorrow. Fiduciary duty may change. So things do change. So it's not static. I think the other thing there is actually to remember within this, it's to stop people who come out who appear to be bad actors saying things that are, Roger Hallam concerned as well, to some extent, outrageous to the point of being misleading and or lying. And you get things that happen in political circles where people have great influence and they go out in something that's plain wrong. And let's take an example within the climate scenario.
Ed Miliband.
No, well, let's go we could go with Ed Miliband, but let me go first with Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage going out and saying that net zero is causing the deindustrialisation of the UK is wrong.
Is it?
Now, whether or not you should make that illegal...
It's completely correct.
They're closing down...
In what way is it correct? What's happened over the... Oh, sorry, you're going that direction.
I think he was going to answer that question.
I'm happy if Ed wants to go. I'll come afterwards.
The point is that things like energy and steel produce carbon dioxide emissions. So our attempt to move to, for example, renewables, our attempt to lower our CO2 emissions means we have less industrial capacity. All we do is then export that industrial capacity over to India, China and elsewhere. And we actually, in that sense, increase the levels of carbon dioxide because those countries have less high standards than we do. It's ridiculous from every angle.
And just very quickly, is this not perfectly exemplifying the point here, which is that potentially what Nigel Farage said there could be quote-unquote criminal, but actually there is a case for it?
Absolutely not, because what I'd say is that's misinformation. Why? If you simply take the point, Climate Change Act came in 2008, and at that point, the industrial part of our GDP was about 8 or 9%. Right. It's gone down 1% in the last 15 years to today. In the previous 15 years before that, it went down 11%, and in the previous 20 years before that, it went down 11%. So the only thing you could say is net zero is doing the opposite and stopping our deindustrialisation.
All right, well, look, we clearly... we could have done a whole show on
And
this.
disagreeing with that is supposed to be illegal.
Well, that wasn't the illegal part of it.
Well, all right, OK, well, there we go. Well, anyway, we'll make our own minds up at home whether or not we think any of it should be illegal, really. But anyway, all right, thank you very much, chaps. Great stuff. Yes, at 10 p.m, so look out for this. We are going to be going live to Dublin. Why? Well, it appears that there have been some anti-migration protests that have already erupted, and apparently it's over the secret Afghan asylum scheme. Our reporter, Doogie Beattie, is on the scene, so we'll bring that to you shortly. But coming up... Interesting story. The Prevent Anti-Terror Scheme missed repeated chances to stop the Southport monster Axel Rudikabana and the extremist who assassinated MP Sir David Amess. So, is that scheme really fit for purpose? But before that...
In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Well, I've got some new stats for you which show exactly how terrified people are about speaking the truth. Stay tuned.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
There's the risk of some more heavy, thundery downpours affecting eastern parts of Europe as we go through the rest of this week. But across western areas towards the Canary Islands, Madeira, across much of Spain and Portugal, it's largely fine on Thursday. Decent amount of sunshine and feeling very warm or hot in that sunshine as well. Some showery rain likely across much of Italy, drier towards the south, but across parts of Greece, Turkey, there will be a fair few showers on offer. A drier theme for many through the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, as we go through the rest of today, overnight and into tomorrow, we're going to see some wet weather pushing across western parts, and here there is the risk of some thunder. We've already had quite a bit of cloud and rain across the southwest today. That's because of a weather system that's pushing its way in, and it's going to continue to make its way northeastwards as we go through the next 24 hours. As a result, some hefty rain pushing across parts of Wales overnight, and some outbreaks of heavy, possibly thundery rain feeding in across Northern Ireland too. Further east, it's dry with clear skies, a few fog patches possible for some eastern parts of England, but for all, it is going to be a relatively warm night. Pretty warm indeed, actually, across the west. Most places seeing temperatures staying well in double figures. As we go through tomorrow morning then, a west-east split across many parts of England and Wales. Brighter, sunnier towards the east, more clouds, some wet weather towards the west. Across Northern Ireland, a fairly cloudy start, and there could be some heavy bursts of rain around. Similar across the southwest of Scotland, but elsewhere across much of Scotland, it's a fine, sunny morning, albeit there will be a bit of low cloud affecting parts of Orkney and Shetland. Then as we go through the day, the cloud and outbreaks of rain feed a little bit further eastwards, but nonetheless, some eastern parts staying dry through much of the day and just turning a bit cloudier as we go into the afternoon. The heaviest rain will be towards the western parts of Northern Ireland. Risk of some intense thunderstorms here. Temperatures for all likely to be a degree or so higher than today, which means we could be looking at highs of around 28 or 29 Celsius in the southeast. Then looking ahead to Friday, and there will be some further showery rain on offer, most of it towards the northwest, but a few outbreaks will feed further south and east, although some southeastern parts probably avoiding all of it and staying dry with some decent bright sunny weather, and temperatures even higher still. We could be looking in the low 30s. Fresher and wetter as we go through the weekend.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So coming up, well, some quite revealing things about the anti-terror scheme that doesn't really appear to be stopping that many terrorists. But first, Brits feel unable to speak out for fear of offending others on issues like race, religion and immigration, with free speech under real threat. That is according to research from the Commission for Countering Extremism, which actually advises the government. So nearly half of those people polled think that people these days are far too easily offended. And it's older white men without a university degree who feel the most muzzled. Indeed, there's been a real-life evidence that free speech is in retreat in recent years. So back in 2021, protests erupted in Batley in West Yorkshire after a teacher showed pupils a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad from Charlie Hebdo. He ended up getting death threats. Him and I believe his immediate family are in hiding. Obviously, we've got Lucy Connolly, haven't we? She's currently serving a 31-month prison sentence away from her young daughter for a post she made on X, then deleted 3.5 hours later. So I'm joined now by free speech campaigner and journalist Candice Holdsworth. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. So these figures show that people feel as though free speech is frankly massively under threat, very afraid to talk about several key issues, whether it's to do with things like trans, with immigration, etc. How concerning is this for you?
I think that this is so interesting that we're talking about this now. I think people have a real sense, and we're beginning to be able to sort of formulate it and really understand what it is, that there's maybe a double standard and there's a two-tier, and that if you have opinions which are maybe more conservative, often held by working class people, you know, people without degrees, you are very conservative on immigration, for instance, you have a real patriotism, you've been very critical of the trans issue, although I would say that the majority of the population are starting to come more towards that view now that they've sort of seen things like women in men's sports. So I think there's been a slight shift there. But I think that that is a real problem, and I think that people with those views are often shamed by the educated elites. I mean, you see it in the schools. You see that girl this week who got into trouble for wearing a Union Jack dress. I mean, years ago, I don't know if you remember the story of Emily Thornberry, the MP, who tweeted a picture outside a house in Rochester with a white
I remember
hat.
it well. I often use that picture as quite good fodder whenever I need to give the Labour Party a kicking about being unpatriotic. But just on that, I think you made a really, really interesting point. So it's not people on the left, people who feel as though, you know, the open border fanatics, the people who feel as though, you know, everyone should dye their hair blue and get some kind of sex change. They feel perfectly comfortable raising their opinions, do they? But if people think that maybe we should, like, I don't know, turn the boats back, they're the ones who feel as though they can't say that.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I think that that Lord Walney, who was sort of chairing the government's counter-extremism, he was the independent chair of like the government's counter-extremism drive. He was trying to highlight that there is extremism on the progressive left and that we need to start recognizing that, because far too much emphasis is being placed by those on the right. And often it's not even what people would deem extreme. You know, I mean, you mentioned Now Prevent. I mean, there was obviously all that controversy not too long ago that they were saying people like Douglas Murray were gateways to extremist thinking, or Michael Portillo or Jacob Rees-Mogg. I mean, there's clearly a distorted perception of one side of the political spectrum.
I would have liked to have almost tried that on a little bit, which is that, you know, obviously if someone has committed something absolutely obscene and then them trying to claim they've been radicalised by Michael Portillo, I just think I would have loved to have seen how that would have washed in a court of law, right? I don't think anyone would have really bought that. But just finally on this, there's a really interesting bit in this for me, which is about how it is men, especially of a certain age, white men, who do not have a university degree, which would indicate they are from a certain generation of man, potentially, who feel the most muzzled. Well, there's a lot of people who will think that actually is millions of kind of your good classic British man, right? And what does that indicate about the way society views those people now?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's so much negativity towards what is traditionally masculine. I mean, we see that all the time. I mean, look at all the stuff with adolescents, you know, the way people were demonizing young boys. I mean, look at the portrayal of the dad, who actually seems to be a pretty good dad in that series and doing what he was supposed to be doing. But he was portrayed as if he was some sort of negligent, awful father because he went out to work. And, you know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I think that view absolutely exists. And we do know that there is a divergence between men and women politically. I mean, no one really knows quite what it is, and it's becoming particularly pronounced amongst younger men and younger women. Men are moving more towards the right, and women are moving more towards the left.
Yeah, and anecdotally, I think that's true. Although I do think that there is a large number of women who I think are younger women who are kind of waking up to the reality of what's going on. But Candice, thank you so much. Always a real pleasure. Take care, and I'll chat to you soon, freely, no doubt, which is crucial, of course. Candice Holdsworth, free speech campaigner and journalist. Just on that, you know, worth bearing in mind, isn't it, that if those people with really radical views on the left have absolutely no fear of speaking their mind, then why should you? But coming up at 10 p.m... Those are scenes in Dublin, because the Afghan asylum scheme has triggered an anti-migration protest there. We're going to go live to those protests with GBNews reporter GBT. Before that, though, look, I've teased this a lot. The Prevent anti-terror scheme, frankly, does not seem to be preventing much. There's new research today which suggests that it needs to get a lot better. Oh, and there is still time for you to get tickets to my live Friday night studio audience show. Here's how. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Jubes, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Cur weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. So coming up, is the secret Afghan asylum scheme the worst migration cover-up in British history? Some new developments on that. But first, a shocking report has exposed how the government's Prevent scheme missed massive chances to stop both the Southport killer, Axel Rudy Cabana, and the extremist who murdered Tory MP Sir David Amess. Not quite sure why it's that much of a shock, though, given the fact that it doesn't seem like Prevent has been preventing that much. But Lord Anderson, who wrote the report, says that Prevent is riddled with failings, like only holding one meeting to assess the danger posed by Sir David Amess's killer, Ali Harbi Ali, instead of the 7 that should have happened, before then wrongly deciding, of course, that he didn't pose any threat at all. I'm joined now by the advisor and spokesperson for the family of Sir David Amess, Rad Seeger. Rad, thank you very much. Tremendous to see you. So this, I imagine, will not actually come as that much of a shock to you. Prevent is not really preventing much, is it?
Well, look, Patrick, if you're Sir David's family, let's just remember that this is one of the country's greatest ever public servants, served this country selflessly for 40 years. If you're his family, you're sitting here tonight scratching your head. Look, it's almost 4 years since he was killed, and there's still none the wiser as to why the killer, and we'll never name him, we'll never give him the oxygen of publicity ourselves, why he was allowed to slip through the state's safeguarding nets. And as you say, Patrick, one coffee in McDonald's, he said, I'm not a terrorist, and they let him go. And if you're the family, you're just, wow, so angry.
Well, we also keep hearing, don't we, about how, Prevent, it's all Islamophobic. Well, as far as I can tell, they seem to be putting a disproportionate amount of time towards tackling the far right. Then you end up with someone who is an Islamist extremist. They don't really bother to look into him. They let him blag his way through it. I mean, frankly, there's nothing Islamophobic about letting an Islamist kill one of Britain's greatest MPs, is there?
Well, look, we don't care whether you're black, brown, or white, or any color. If you're intent on committing atrocities like these, you should be prevented. And look, the program's called Prevent. It's not called, there's a safety net and some people are going to slip through. I think the public don't really understand what counterterrorism is all about. And if we're going to call it Prevent, that to me means prevent. And again, look at it through David's eyes, the family's eyes. They didn't prevent his killing, and he was known to them. He was referred to prevent, and they failed to stop him. And tonight, they still don't have any answers as to why that happened. Lord Anderson refers to a string of failures in that case, Patrick, but doesn't then go on to explain why. And it's almost like there's nothing to see here. We've learned lessons. Well, Patrick, we did not learn lessons after Sir David because we link Southport directly to Southend and Sir David's murder because...
Just quickly, why? Why is that linked?
Well, David's family were told that lessons were learned. And they very clearly weren't because exactly the same set of circumstances happened 3 years later in Southport.
Yeah, right. I mean, thank you very, very much. Just wanted to have you on. Obviously, send all of our best to the family of Sir David Amos. Rad Seeger there is a spokesperson for the family. It's one of the reasons, isn't it, where we're constantly told, saying things like don't look back in anger whenever there's been a terrorist attack. It's normally because there are loads of people we need to be really angry for letting it happen, and they just don't want the blame pointed to them. But Counter-Terrorism Policing Senior National Coordinator for Prevent has told us Counter-Terrorism Policing welcomes Lord Anderson's report, remains committed to understanding the full extent of the circumstances which led to the murders of Sir David Amos and of innocent children in Southport last year. They say they're now going to carefully reflect on the report, its recommendations, and they're going to work with their other partners to ensure that systems designed to keep the public safe do exactly that. All right, well, do you remember this? Well, that was a clip we showed you earlier on about a migrant protest taking place in Dublin. Apparently it's kicking off over there over the Afghan scheme that's taken place. We're going to go live to Dublin with our reporter, Doogie Beattie. Stay tuned.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, as we go through the rest of today, overnight and into tomorrow, we're going to see some wet weather pushing across western parts, and here there is the risk of some thunder. We've already had quite a bit of cloud and rain across the southwest today. That's because of a weather system that's pushing its way in, and it's going to continue to make its way northeastwards as we go through the next 24 hours. As a result, some hefty rain pushing across parts of Wales overnight, and some outbreaks of heavy, possibly thundery rain feeding in across Northern Ireland too. Further east, it's dry with clear skies, a few fog patches possible for some eastern parts of England, but for all, it is going to be a relatively warm night. Pretty warm indeed, actually, across the west. Most places seeing temperatures staying well in double figures. As we go through tomorrow morning then, a west-east split across many parts of England and Wales. Brighter, sunnier towards the east, more cloud, some wet weather towards the west. Across Northern Ireland, a fairly cloudy start, and there could be some heavy bursts of rain around. Similar across the southwest of Scotland, but elsewhere across much of Scotland, it's a fine, sunny morning, albeit there will be a bit of low cloud affecting parts of Orkney and Shetland. Then, as we go through the day, the cloud and outbreaks of rain feed a little bit further eastwards, but nonetheless, some eastern parts staying dry through much of the day and just turning a bit cloudier as we go into the afternoon. The heaviest rain will be towards the western parts of Northern Ireland. Risk of some intense thunderstorms here. Temperatures for all likely to be a degree or so higher than today, which means we could be looking at highs of around 28 or 29 Celsius in the southeast. Then looking ahead to Friday, and there will be some further showery rain on offer, most of it towards the northwest, but a few outbreaks will feed further south and east, although some southeastern parts probably avoiding all of it and staying dry with some decent bright sunny weather and temperatures even higher still. We could be looking in the low 30s. Fresher and wetter as we go through the weekend.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. Well, the Afghan migrant cover-up is worse than you can imagine, and it has already triggered protests. I'm going to take you live to Dublin in a minute, where there is currently civil unrest over immigration, and...
Go, yalla. Yalla. There's no way this guy's doing it. Allah.
There is a big update for you on that feral schoolboy yob. Plus...
Just try and whack it. Yes, this is good. And again. That's it. And again. Try and breathe. Relax.
Meltdown. Sir Keir Starmer expels 4 Labour MPs. But one of them, though, well, will she be missed?
We need to shout so much more and say 20,000 is not enough, because what does it matter if we have to wait another week for a hospital visit?
Oh, yeah, I mean, people might die, but, you know, what does it matter anyway? Good riddance. On my panel tonight, we have got political commentator Emily Sheffield, we've got businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and Labour councillor Sebastian Salak. And what the heck is this? And from 11 p.m. until midnight, it's Late Edition, which is a detailed look at tomorrow's front pages. And by the way, we've got a story that is landing at precisely 11 p.m. And it looks as though we have missed, the government has missed, a huge opportunity to deport members of the Pakistani rape gangs. You're not going to want to miss that. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. It's kicking off over immigration in Dublin. I'll take you right to the scene next.
Patrick, thank you. The top story. Sir Keir Starmer says former Tory ministers have serious questions to answer about how the names of Afghans who worked with UK forces were exposed. Thousands of Afghan nationals are being relocated to the UK after their names were accidentally sent in an email in 2022, but the leak was only discovered by the British military in August of 2023. A super injunction preventing the reporting of the mistake was imposed that year in an attempt to prevent the Taliban from finding out about the leak. That injunction was lifted yesterday. Sir Keir Starmer has suspended 4 Labour MPs over breaching party discipline. Rachel Maskell, Neil Duncan-Jordan, Brian Leishman and Chris Hinchcliffe have all had the party whip removed, meaning the MPs will sit as independents in the House of Commons. Senior Labour sources have not ruled out further MPs, including from earlier parliamentary intakes, being suspended. That move comes after 47 Labour MPs rebelled against the government's proposed cuts to welfare and forced ministers to water down their plans. Labour MP for Blackley and Middleton South, Graham Stringer, spoke to GB News.
I think it's always a sign of weakness if governments or any political party start expelling people and taking the whip away. It's seen immediately as a macro tough thing to do. But actually, the leadership of the Labour Party should be trying to bind the party together after what's been a traumatic event with so many people, not just people who voted against the whip, which I did, on the welfare cuts, but those people who abstained. It's the time now to look deeply into policy and the principles and bring the party together.
In other news, Donald Trump addressed the Jeffrey Epstein files whilst meeting with the Crown Prince of Bahrain at the White House this afternoon. The US president said people who believe the Epstein files are stupid, adding the credible file should be released. The president also denied that he plans to fire Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, contradicting a senior White House official. He also said he was, quote, pretty good trade deals to announce, adding maybe with India. A nurse suspended after complaining about sharing a changing room with a transgender colleague has been cleared of gross misconduct. Sandy Peggy was accused of misgendering Dr. Beth Upton and of patient care failings, but a disciplinary panel found no evidence to support those claims. The decision came hours before her employment tribunal resumes in Dundee, where she's alleging harassment and victimisation. NHS Fife says no sanctions will be imposed, but the case has already cost the Health Board more than £200,000. That tribunal follows a Supreme Court ruling defining sex in law as biological. And a new photograph of the Queen has been released to celebrate her 78th birthday. Queen Camilla was pictured smiling in the sunshine and leaning on a metal gate in front of a meadow at her Wiltshire home in Raymill. The image shows the Queen wearing a turquoise dress and a Liberty fabric printed with a rainforest of toucans, lemurs and monkeys. Last year, Queen Camilla was on duty on her birthday, attending the state opening of Parliament at the King's side. But this year, she's said to be spending the day privately. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more news in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
OK, a couple of things. At 11 p.m, we've got an exclusive for you, which is just beggars belief, actually. It involves, well, the Pakistani rape gangs and us not deporting them, but giving Pakistan a major concession. Sir Keir Starmer, the master negotiator, strikes again. But I am joined now for a developing story. It's GB News reporter Doogie Beattie, who has been at an anti-migration protest in Dublin for us tonight. So, Doogie, could you just explain what's been going on where you are, please?
Well, as we've reported formally over the last couple of years, Patrick, things really are heating up in the Republic of Ireland over immigration. Per head of population, they've had more immigrants into this part of the British Isles, if you like, and it really is affecting the culture here. Now, today there was about 500 people protesting at the GPO in the centre of Dublin. There were 3 arrests there, and this evening they have decided to really point to the homeless people of Dublin, and they have tents all out round and beside the Dáil Éireann, the House of Parliament in Dublin, and they are, well, really trying to ask questions of the TC Dáilers or MPs as they walk past as to where they stand on immigration. But I'm joined with 2 men now, Thomas MacDonald and John Malloy. Thomas.
How are you? I'm a councillor in County Kildare, yeah.
Yeah, and you did stand in the last election.
Yeah, I got in the local elections, but I did stand in the general election, and we find the vote was very split and all over the place. Well, we had a lot of candidates just popping up at the last minute, and we want to cut that out going forward. We need people that are active, that are involved in their communities, that are out there and doing work, not just appearing with a board 3 weeks before the election. You need people that are sitting there, that are doing work, they're known in the community, and you need to identify whether it's IB Era 32. I'm involved in Era 32 and building it. I won't be leader, but if we are sitting a candidate, we will have the stronger one, and vice versa for other areas.
So there you are. I mean, they are starting to build their candidacy. And John, if you can walk in a bit towards me, you're not in this man's party, but you are now starting to unite. You're starting to learn the lessons from that election. What chance do you think you have in elections?
Well, I just like bring to point here what happened today and what we're doing here. Today we came together as people, as normal people in this country, to highlight about 16,000 that are homeless in this country, also the hidden homeless and those that are waiting on social housing, which is probably about 30 or 40,000 people. At this moment in time, the government who are down here behind us are literally urinating, to use a word, in kind of phrase, on the Irish people. The only way we can do this is not, and we've seen this in the past through political channels, that political policies is not curing a big issue that we have. The issue being homeless crisis, we have an economic crisis, we have a migrant crisis, and so on in this country. Bringing it forward, we need to get together. We need to get all parties that are out there, that are fringe parties and everything else, to stop throwing toys out of the pram, get together, sit down at a table, work it out, because there are 16,000 people at this moment in time sitting around in doorways and in tents and everything else. We're here tonight in tents, as you can see behind me here, and we're highlighting this problem.
We're out of time. Just come back. Well, you can see there, Patrick, exactly the same problems that are across the UK are here, and they are protesting. The protests have started again after the general elections, and this time they seem to be getting organised.
They do. And Doogie, if I could just ask you a question, because we've been watching some clips there of the police appearing to wrestle people to the floor, etc. So really, people have taken to the streets to say they're not happy with the level of immigration in Dublin. And, you know, what happened? Were the police quite heavy-handed with them? What was going on there?
Well, that's exactly the point. They are heavy-handed with them. We've seen that in Ballymena, we've seen it in Portadown. If they'd have stayed off, they wouldn't actually be creating targets and moving in on them. And we see this quite a lot in Ireland at this moment in time, that the tactic is to close them down, basically, and try and arrest them. Those 3 arrests today, then they hold them in court, hold them overnight, and then they appear again in court. And they're thinking, the thinking around there, as a journalist sitting watching this, is to really try and put people off coming to protest because they might end up with a criminal record. But really, people in the Republic of Ireland have had enough, Patrick, and this, far from shrinking, is actually growing and coming closer together.
All right, Doogie, well, look, thank you very much. Thank you to the two gentlemen that we spoke to there as well, and we'll keep us up to date on anything that goes on there. Thank you, Doogie. Take care. Well, look, it kind of ties in a little bit with what I was originally going to lead the hour with, which is that yesterday we found out that successive governments have been secretly importing Afghans, plonking them in loads of towns and then covering it up. And we're told that they're all interpreters and that they fought the Taliban alongside us. But then it emerged that one Afghan who arrived on the official relocation scheme claimed his 13 family members, 13, were also in danger, took the government to court, won, and now they're all here. And it looks like a lot of people haven't even been vetted before they came here, as ex-Tory MP and member of the Armed Forces, Bob Seeley, revealed. People even vetted properly.
Some were, some weren't, is my gut feeling, and it's quite clear also that, like you, I've been reading the fact there are some people who we gave a very firm no to because of those sorts of reasons and are now in anyway.
Yep, but this is just the latest in a long line of huge cover-ups, and that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. How many cover-ups have there been? Well, we had the Pakistani rape gang scandal. Police avoided investigating people because they were afraid of being called racist. People who pointed out that Pakistanis were disproportionately represented were called racist, and obviously, if you wanted an inquiry, well, naturally, you were far right.
And when politicians, and I mean politicians, who sat in government for many years, are casual about honesty, decency, truth and the rule of law, calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
Then you've got the attempted illegal immigration cover-up. So local areas are not consulted. I mean, you'll know this, probably listening or watching wherever you are now. Your local area is not consulted when a hotel is about to be turned into a migrant facility. Sir Keir Starmer says that he's going to clamp down on illegal migrants working illegally.
This will show others trying to make the same journey that it will be in vain, and the jobs they've been promised in the UK will no longer exist because of the nationwide crackdown we're delivering on illegal working, which is on a completely unprecedented scale.
So he says that to you, and then today it emerged that the government is refusing to share details of where migrant hotels are with companies like Deliveroo. So they're not really clamping down on it, are they? We're told that we're getting a new deal with France.
For the very first time, migrants arriving via small boat will be detained and returned to France in short order.
And then it turns out that it's only a pilot scheme. We're told that the French will stop the boats in their waters.
France has now agreed that they will now start to intervene in French waters in order to prevent small boats.
But then it turns out that that's subject to a maritime review, so they might decide not to do it after all. The Prime Minister puts out statements like this.
My message to people smugglers is this: we're breaking your business model.
Channel migrant crossings are actually up about 50% on this time last year. People smugglers have literally never had it so good. And then what about Southport? Was there a cover-up there a bit, do we think? We were told next to nothing about Axel Rudy Cabana. Why?
That's the very least that we owe these families. But we also owe them justice. So while there's a prosecution that must not be prejudiced, for them to receive the justice that they deserve, the time for answering those questions is not now.
Right, well then an independent review says that we should have been told more and it might have actually prevented the disorder that we did see. We are not currently allowed to know the nationalities of every criminal in Britain. Now, apparently those stats are going to be published for the very first time in British history later this year. Why have they been hidden from us until now? It was only this week that we were told the truth about how many foreigners are on benefits. You pay about £1 billion a month for foreigners on universal credit. And even then, though, it's only broken down into EU nationals and non-EU nationals. It's not very specific, that, is it? Again, we're told that there isn't really a problem with foreign nationals committing sexual crimes. Well, it turns out that up to a quarter of sex crimes in Britain are committed by foreign men. And just to bring us back to where we started on this Afghan importation scheme that successive governments did, even now, knowing what we know, they are still insisting that the injunction was only to protect human life. So Sir Ben Wallace, former Defence Secretary, published this article in The Telegraph with the quote, "It was not a cover-up." They took a super injunction out against it, for goodness sake. That's a cover-up. There is just industrial-style gaslighting going on here from people in positions of power. It looks a lot like politicians have inflicted an unrelenting tide of lies, deceit and cover-ups onto us, especially when it comes to both legal and illegal immigration. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. We do, of course, have Emily Sheffield there, the former editor of London Evening Standard, Adam Brooks, as well, landlord and activist, and as well, Sebastian Salak joins us, Labour Party councillor. Right, Adam, I'll start with you on this. I mean, the kind of unrelenting tide of cover-ups here, certainly in relation to this Afghan scheme, is pretty shocking. It kind of points to the fact that we can't really trust anything anyone's saying, really.
No, it's shocking, and the trust between the people of this country and governments is at an all-time low, and now we know that apparently, you know, £7 billion worth of repatriation of Afghans has been hidden from us. So not only that, I mean, this £7 billion, was it hidden from the bond markets? Was it hidden from the Chancellor, the OBR forecast? Does that mean that all of our numbers are wrong? Have we been sold a lie on that? And then we get told that veterans are being turfed out of accommodation, possibly, because of Afghans coming over. People that have served their country are being turfed out of their accommodation.
Where's that information from? Where are you verifying that from?
I read it on GB News today.
Where have you verified it from?
We had a bloke who was in accommodation. In fact, I think have we got a clip of it? We've got a clip of it, I think.
And we know that he was turfed out to put Afghans in.
I think we've got a clip of it, have we? Yeah.
I applied in May of 23 and it was rejected. Fast forward then to September 23, and suddenly a large quantity of Afghan nationals suddenly turn up on the estate and occupy a large quantity of the houses that weren't occupied, which then led me to being out, moving over at Christmas time with my family, and any options of support gone.
So, yeah, well, that's what it's
So, I mean, what sort of democracy are we living in where a court can do this, you know, and hide these things from not only us, the people, but Parliament?
So you were a bit you weren't happy with that clip, were you? What's the problem?
I just want to... That's one guy, right? You turned that into veterans are being turfed out to house Afghans.
We did have another one on Nigel Farage's show earlier on, I think.
Well, how many? Because I do think there's another side to this argument is we waged a 20-year war in Afghanistan.
Right.
And we're now turning into all these Afghanis who came here, who worked with our soldiers. Oh, no, wait, let me finish. You've had your... No. You've had your moment.
You've cut into me. So you believe that our veterans that have served do not deserve to be in accommodation over...
That's not what I'm arguing.
Right,
I was asking, where's your information from? And I wanted that verified. And at the moment, we've got 2 instances of this. So, OK, we can argue veterans too. I don't agree with that. I absolutely don't agree that any veterans in our... So 2 have been turfed out. Let's see if the government comes up with the fact that loads of our veterans have been turfed out to house these Afghans. That's not great either, is it? But let's just also focus on what these Afghans were doing for us. For 20 years, we waged a war in that country, and many of these men risked their lives alongside our soldiers, both men and women, probably kept them safe, helped us operate in a country where we had gone to attack them. And then what? We're saying you cannot come to this country. We should be waging war on the people who are coming across in the small boats, OK? They are coming here illegally. Between 2021 and now, the figure is 125,000. But you are picking on people who maybe helped save our soldiers' lives.
I've just highlighted that veterans of this country that you have just said have been turfed out of their accommodation.
We've got 2 at the
foreign
moment.
people.
We've got 2.
GB News has found 2 today, so how many are there?
Well, it's fine. Let's wait and see until we find loads, shall we? Do you agree that we shouldn't house any of these people? Is your argument, so these Afghans who are coming over, who helped our soldiers, who possibly helped our soldiers and saved their lives when they went there to fight a war, so you think they shouldn't come to this country
at the moment, I do not believe we have got the facilities, we've not got the money to do so. And we have not got the room.
Have you got any children?
I've got 3 children.
Right, so if it comes to the point where we go to war at some point and your kids get conscripted, do you want them to go into a war where they may get helped by those on the ground, and then when we've won that war, We
no
just
disrespect.
leave them to
No
be
disrespect.
abandoned.
You put the people of this country first, and we're not doing that. Okay?
So you don't think our soldiers should have been looked after by those
I am just going to bring Sebastian in because
these people, our people, need to be put first.
Okay, all right.
So our soldiers don't matter. When they're being helped by Afghans on the ground, our soldiers don't matter.
I said our people need to be put first.
I think one of the more...
No, because you're not. That's the thing that I'm arguing with.
I want to bring Sebastian in because at the moment he's being paid to absolutely nothing. Right, so, Sebastian, so I think one of the main points, the kind of overarching point I was trying to make there, really, was more a question of government trust, and that is multi-governmental, right? So that's the Tories, massively the Tories, and then now more recently with Labour when it comes to a few of the things there. How big a problem is that for British society? That sense that when we're being told something quite important, people just feel like actually they're probably lying to us.
Well, it depends what the issue is. I think on this occasion, it clearly made a lot of sense not to bring this into the public eye immediately. There were lives at risk. So far be it from me to defend another party's government, but I think putting that super injunction on was the right call at the time.
So was Labour right to carry it on? There was the revelations that in October this year there was a meeting, Rachel Rees, Angela Rayner, John Healey as well. They decided they wanted to carry on with this. Were they right to do that?
Well, clearly at that point there was no confirmation that everybody was safe. That all seems to have come out in this past week. That is the thread that runs through this. Sometimes things have to be secret. We have a secret service for a reason. Not everything can be in public. Of course we want things to be. We want to have that open debate in Parliament and in our town squares. But sometimes things have to be kept quiet.
OK, and just to pick up on this row that we're having before, really, I think it's a good one. People will be having that same discussion at home. Would you ever tolerate a British serviceman or woman being moved out of their homes to accommodate, in this case, an Afghan interpreter, or in the case of one of them, maybe one of his 13 family members?
Well, this sounds like a real edge case. I mean, with the 13 family members thing, who are those family members? Do we know?
Well, they're his family members, wife, children, relatives.
Well, sure, if they're wife and children, you're not just going to leave the children in Afghanistan.
I mean, he did, though, didn't he? That was kind of the problem, wasn't it?
Who's that, sorry?
The guy that we brought over, so the guy who was claiming to be an Afghan interpreter, he did leave his wife and kids back in Afghanistan, then came to Britain, said that he should bring them over, won a court case, and then brought them over. Because for a lot of people, that would be unconscionable, wouldn't it? Like, I don't think I'd leave my wife in Taliban-occupied land, even if I was offered the chance to leave. But he did do that.
I don't know. We don't know who was at threat. We just don't have enough information to have this debate properly.
And haven't the Taliban said that they've known this the whole time?
Apparently. Although the argument against, to be fair, whilst I do think they probably did know about it, the argument against that will be, well, can you trust the Taliban? I suppose not. No. But yeah, look, Ben Wallace has now come out as well, Emily, and said, look, this wasn't a cover-up. I mean, it literally was a cover-up. You can argue whether or not it was the right thing to do, but, I mean, it literally was a cover-up, wasn't it? Because you don't get a super injunction out on something that you want made public.
But then I think you can, again, argue, was this the right thing to do? What I don't think was right, and where it does begin to look like a cover-up, is why wasn't it possible that even if the public didn't know about it, that what was happening was not at least put under sort of Parliament protection, and the MPs from all sides could have a look at it. Why weren't there committees looking at this? That's where, we are not still in process of exactly what happened and how much they were trying to save lives. I don't feel this was like, here's a Conservative government saying, oh, great, let's just bring loads more immigrants over here because that's going to really help us.
I mean, Boris
I genuinely think that it came from a position of that we were there for 20 years and this leak meant that they genuinely thought we were going to put people at really serious danger of being tortured and murdered.
Okay. There's a lot of confusion online because there's two schemes, isn't there? There's the Afghanistan Relocation Assistance Policy, which is the ARAP, and then there's the Afghanistan Response Route, which is the AAR. And one was in 2021 for those that fought alongside us, and one was because of the leak. So they're two different things, and two different lots of people.
It's a very expensive email, either way.
The ones being investigated on that list,
not all
trying...
of them
Yes, they were
us.
all trying... They were still people this government thought had helped us.
But a lot
and
of
they
them
were
hadn't.
trying... Yes, because the guy who leaked it had been put there to try and authenticate that list.
All right. Well, look, we're gonna have to whiz on now, and we've got actually quite a big story coming away at 11 p.m. that involves. Well, I can tease you this. It involves the international airline of Pakistan, and it does not involve anyone being sent from this country back to Pakistan. Put it that way. But anyway, before all of that, here's of course the Great British Giveaway. Yay! 54,321 quid in cold hard tax-free cash. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, we got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Big story on the Daily Mail. Ambulance chaser lawyers are cashing in on that Afghan asylum scheme. And breaking at 11 p.m, yeah, it's another wasted opportunity to deport the Pakistani rape gang ringleaders. You know, the master negotiator strikes again. But massive civil war apparently appears to be breaking in Labour. 4 MPs, I think it is, have now been booted out. Will they jump ship and join Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn's new party? Find out next.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camila Tomminy Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camila Tomminy Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Bishopsthorpe Road, it's on the verges of York City Centre, and it was once crowned the best high street in Britain, but there is a new issue facing it, and that is?
The cost of parking. It's increased by, wait for it, 500%.
And they've done that overnight without consultation, right?
Yeah.
So it now costs £4.85 an hour, right? And what's that going to do? It's going to stop people visiting.
It's going to drive people away.
Anna, it's not easy to get around York, I have to say. You know, one road in, one road out type thing, congestion around the place. Yes, there's car parking spaces, but goodness me, I mean, this is obviously very, very controversial, and these are the sort of taxes, indirect taxes, that come on all of us. It's now going to cost us so much money just to get there, just to see there. Tell us more.
That's right, Eamon, and the City of York Council have introduced this to try and reduce congestion, to try and get more people on buses.
Extra things like this just mean that it's been unprepared, but also it just adds up, and it then stops you from doing other things. And then, you know, for people that haven't got enough money to eat and to look after their kids and things, I think it's disgusting, to be honest.
Thank you for speaking with us this morning, Karen. Really appreciate it. The council say that they are going to review these charges. They're going to look at them every 3, 6 and 9 months and start engaging with the local community to just see how fair these prices are.
OK, Anna Riley.
Where are you parked this morning, Anna?
We're parked here, £22.50 it's cost us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Look, shortly, a massive exclusive for you. It involves Pakistani Airlines and no members of the Pakistani rape gangs in Britain. I'll reveal all at 11 p.m. First, though, 2 weeks after Sir Keir Starmer thought the biggest revolt of his premiership was over, bingo, today, 4 Labour MPs have been booted out. Neil Duncan-Jordan, Brian Leishman, Rachel Maskell, Chris Hinchcliffe were all stripped of the whip. Now, whilst most of them won't be household names in their own homes, it is quite important. Meanwhile, though, a new poll has shown that Jeremy Corbyn/Zara Sultana's new party is polling at exactly the same level as the Labour Party. Joining me now is Deputy Political Editor James Heal. James, thank you very much. Can you explain firstly why these people have been biffed?
Well, they've been biffed, Patrick, because they're all serial rebels, and each of them has been involved in different rebellions. So Chris Hinchcliffe has been involved in the anti-planning revolts. You've had Rachel Maskell, who's been outspoken on the 2-child benefit cap, and the others talk about winter fuel. So really, I think this is a chance, in the words of one MP I spoke to today, to clean house and really get rid of some of the troublemakers and hopefully get the rest of them in line, because the danger for the Labour Party is once you get a bit of rebellion, it becomes infectious and others are then caught by the same virus. OK. Interesting, though, because the government's U-turned on at least a couple of those things, hasn't it? So do we think they'll just join Jezbollah, as I'm affectionately calling it? Well, someone suggested that the new Jez party should be called the Fruitcake because it contains a fair few sultanas. But basically, I think in terms of these Labour MPs, they very much want to remain part of the Labour tradition. They're talking today in terms of sorrow rather than anger. They're releasing statements. So I think, as you're right, Patrick, some other MPs are saying, you know, they're completely validated. They've been vindicated. Why on earth are we getting rid of these people when they've been proven to be right? So we wait to see. There's going to be another 4 years of this Parliament and a long road ahead. But they're certainly saying publicly, and I think privately tonight, they want to remain part of the Labour Party and the tradition. OK, and presumably Keir Starmer, just finally with you, James, thank you, but presumably Keir Starmer is saying, well, this is a show of force, is he? He said he was a hard B word, and is this him punching harder than he punched that punch bag? I think the Prime Minister's been watching a little bit too much Godfather, and he's decided to be Michael Corleone. Today is the day he settles all family debts, and he decided to do it just before the recess in the hope that all this can then sort of wash over and then the party will come out united. But I'm not sure. We'll see about it. Might be hard, but we'll see if he's sensible a few months down the line. Well, I mean, also, like how long before he just U-turns on this? You know. Anyway, James, thank you very, very much. Tremendous. James Heal there. Thank you for sticking on the line for us. Spectator, Deputy Political Editor. Coming up, look, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. At 11 p.m, though, I know I keep teasing this, but it's because it's a massive story. A huge wasted opportunity by this government to deport the Pakistani rape gang ringleaders. It involves a negotiation with Pakistan where we have taken everything, OK, absolutely everything, and they have taken nothing in return. It's absolutely insane. Don't go anywhere.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
There's the risk of some more heavy, thundery downpours affecting eastern parts of Europe as we go through the rest of this week. But across western areas towards the Canary Islands, Madeira, across much of Spain and Portugal, it's largely fine on Thursday. Decent amount of sunshine and feeling very warm or hot in that sunshine as well. Some showery rain likely across much of Italy, drier towards the south, but across parts of Greece, Turkey, there will be a fair few showers on offer. A drier theme for many through the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, as we go through the rest of today, overnight and into tomorrow, we're going to see some wet weather pushing across western parts, and here there is the risk of some thunder. We've already had quite a bit of cloud and rain across the southwest today. That's because of a weather system that's pushing its way in, and it's going to continue to make its way northeastwards as we go through the next 24 hours. As a result, some hefty rain pushing across parts of Wales overnight, and some outbreaks of heavy, possibly thundery rain feeding in across Northern Ireland too. Further east, it's dry with clear skies, a few fog patches possible for some eastern parts of England, but for all, it is going to be a relatively warm night. Pretty warm indeed, actually, across the west. Most places seeing temperatures staying well in double figures. As we go through tomorrow morning then, a west-east split across many parts of England and Wales. Brighter, sunnier towards the east, more clouds, some wet weather towards the west. Across Northern Ireland, a fairly cloudy start and there could be some heavy bursts of rain around. Similar across the southwest of Scotland, but elsewhere across much of Scotland it's a fine sunny morning, albeit there will be a bit of low cloud affecting parts of Orkney and Shetland. Then as we go through the day, the cloud and outbreaks of rain feed a little bit further eastwards, but nonetheless, some eastern parts staying dry through much of the day and just turning a bit cloudier as we go into the afternoon. The heaviest rain will be towards the western parts of Northern Ireland. Risk of some intense thunderstorms here. Temperatures for all likely to be a degree or so higher than today, which means we could be looking at highs of around 28 or 29 Celsius in the southeast. Then looking ahead to Friday, and there will be some further showery rain on offer, most of it towards the northwest, but a few outbreaks will feed further south and east, although some southeastern parts probably avoiding all of it and staying dry with some decent bright sunny weather and temperatures even higher still. We could be looking in the low 30s. Fresher and wetter as we go through the weekend.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Cur weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
All right, slightly later than planned here on the first look at tomorrow's front page is the Daily Telegraph. Interesting this, so the Cabinet bid to halt the Afghan airlift. So ministers objected on security grounds to the Afghan resettlement scheme, but were overruled with, quote, emotional blackmail. So, again, it's that kind of idea of kind of like white guilt, isn't it, really, I think? Just, it just seems remarkable. The Sun, I've got here, Afghans £1 billion blunder compo. So, yeah, this is what we're going to end up talking about, right? So it's now the level of compensation that we are supposedly going to be paying for people who we've already invited over. But the Metro goes for new Maxwell appeal bid as Trump flips. So this is the Epstein files. I'm talking about this more in the next hour. So we're now kind of led to believe that the Epstein files don't exist, which means that no one's really on them, despite the fact that like loads of people seem to think they do exist, and also, if they don't exist, why is Glenn Maxwell in prison? But, OK. Then we've got The Guardian. 4 MPs lose the Labour whip as the PM attempts to reassert his grip on the party. Finally, thanks for saving us, now we'll sue you. So let's do this one then. So, Emily, you've got strong views on this. The people that we've brought over as part of these various different Afghan schemes are apparently now able to sue us as well.
Well, I think the nail really lands this, because it's about ambulance chasing lawyers cashing in. And that's what I really object to. Because when you read closely about this story, the Afghans didn't even know what they were going to be suing the British government for. This lawyer contacted 1,000 of them and said, I can't tell you why you're going to be able to sue the government, but I'm going to represent you. And I'd like to see what his messages were. I'm going to get you loads of money. Now, the only person who's going to be making loads of money from this is that lawyer. I think it's really wrong. I don't know why we can't stop ambulance chasing lawyers in this country.
What do you reckon, Sebastian? Do you think we do have a problem? Is it right, really, that the British taxpayer should again have to pay for these people to sue us?
Well, I mean, look, it's a really complex situation. I agree with Emily that I think the lawyers are going to be the real winners here. It is so early on in this story. It is just a case of how it's been managed. The issue with this is, I was saying earlier, it feels a bit like Brexit, it feels a bit like COVID, in the sense that it is so new and we don't really have a precedent for this. So it's really hard to see how this is going to play out, and really hard to see who the winners and losers are going to be.
Well, the losers are going to be the British taxpayer,
yeah,
aren't they?
Look, it's all right saying that the lawyers are going to cash in on this, it's saying that they could get £250,000 each in compensation. That's a hell of a lot of money, and more money than most Brits will see in their lifetime. So at the end of the day, we could possibly be shelling out £1 billion for something that could fund the winter fuel payment for pensioners for a year. Look, there's priorities.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
We've just got Margaret in our forward.
I'm not disagreeing with you
after our own. Like I said before, look, we can't help everyone in life. We cannot, but we should help our own.
At what point do we have to draw a line under this? All right, so, OK, there was an error, which, again, is none of our faults. The error is not the British taxpayers' fault. You know, this is whoever's, you know, sent the email out and all that stuff, OK. But you get housing, you get, you know, if you've got kids, presumably they're getting a good education here, healthcare-wise. You know, do we have to pay them compensation as well, really?
I mean, my gut instinct says no. It really does. And I don't know which bit of the law... I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know which bit of the law is going to protect them. So no, I don't agree. It doesn't make common sense.
That's it. We have to separate government compensation schemes like infected blood and all the rest of them from this kind of thing, which is just you're getting sued.
Yeah.
And in this case, it is really a case of what does the law say? You can't change the law, so the question is,
but you can interpret it, can't you?
You can interpret it, but within
all too often it seems like it's being interpreted by people like Lord Hermer, who appear to have a very squiffy interpretation of the law, don't they? And now I worry that we're going to end up seeing, you know, dare I say it, the expected interpretation of this, which is that we're evil and we owe this lot a load of money.
Well, it's going to fall in front of a judge who is politically neutral, or they should be.
They're not.
And they are going to interpret the law and they're going to come to a conclusion. So this is really the least political part of this story.
And most of these will probably have benefits for the rest of their life. So that will dwarf the £250,000 each that they get. They will probably be looked after for the rest of their life. What makes you say that? Well, many of them can't speak English or probably won't be able to integrate.
Right.
So how are they going to contribute and how are they going to work?
No, but how are they going to get benefits?
Well, we're not going to see them out on the street. We're going to probably give them housing of some sort. We're going to give them some sort of benefit to live.
You say probably. Who qualifies for housing and who doesn't, who comes over here?
Well, most people that come over here end up getting some sort of benefits in some way if they cannot work.
True.
1.3 million foreigners in this country receive some sort of benefits. So that's
not the majority of people who come over.
Well, that's a hell of a lot of foreigners.
But it's not the majority.
Are you telling me that we're just going to ship these people over and not give them any sort of state aid?
I'm not telling you anything. I'm asking you for the details.
Well, it's pretty obvious that if they cannot get a job, they are going to get some sort of benefits.
That's not how the benefit system works. Well, most people who come over here have no recourse to public funds.
But we're bringing them over. Do you honestly think that if they don't get jobs that we're going to leave them to starve?
I don't know. I'm just asking you for the details, and I'm not guessing them.
I think it's common sense that they're going to get some sort of...
It's not common sense. You can't rule by common sense.
Look, if they don't get jobs, they're going to get benefits of some sort. Otherwise, they will die. They will not be able to live.
If they've got leave to... So you can claim benefits from the second that you are granted leave to remain. So if they've been granted leave to remain and then they can't find a job, then it would imply, would it not, that they are going to be able to claim benefits?
Yes, if they get leave to remain.
But they will do. But they will get leave to remain because we're bringing them over.
I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying we don't know.
All right. Well, yes. OK. Well, we will have to wait to see. I think I might be about to play you a clip. Am I of an interesting man? Yes. OK. Right. So this is weird. All right. I'm just going to say this. So there's a man who's been dubbed Catman, who's been seen crawling through sand dunes, hiding behind bus stops, and even in one video, approaching a parked car. Let's have a look at this.
Over.
So it's, that is weird, right? So this guy's in the Wirral, so watch out if you're watching in the Wirral. There's a Catman on the loose. It's got echoes of the Somerset Gimp, this, hasn't it? Do you remember the Somerset Gimp?
Very well.
Yeah, great. I interviewed the Essex Gimp once. He was very annoyed with the Somerset
Gimp. There's an Essex Gimp.
So many Gimps. I know, right? And he was really annoyed with the Somerset Gimp because he thought that he was giving a bad reputation to some people who just like to walk around in latex and not do anything dodgy. So anyway, so watch out if you're in the Wirral. There's a man who's...
But if someone comes to your car and you think you're under threat, you're going to put your foot down.
I know.
How's he not been run over then?
I know. Right, it's mad. But apparently that's just one clip. Like, apparently this is happening, like, every night now, and no one's caught him. So there we are. Anyway, if you are watching this, Catman, actually, then feel free. We would like to... You know, I treated the Essex Gimp very well. I would treat you very well. Well, it's a good question. That maybe we're being incredibly Oh, it is a man. I'm being told.
Oh, it is a man. Okay.
What does he identify as?
Yeah. Anyway, look, I've got a few more front pages. Look, yeah, very, very serious stories. This is at 11 p.m. It's embargo until 11 p.m. But all I'm allowed to tell you is that we've appeared to have made some massive concessions to Pakistan for absolutely nothing in return. So stay tuned.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Sally first. How can this be good?
I'm not sure if it's good, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I would defend everyone's choice to, if they can afford it, send their child to whatever care facility that they choose. And I think when you're talking about very young preschool children, there's an awful lot of life ahead of them where, you know, they can learn that life isn't always going to shower you with rose petals and tasting menus. If it suits the parents, if it suits the child, why not? And we are talking about a very small sector of society who, A, can afford this sort of option with your preschool childcare, and it's for a very short time. So there's obviously a market for it. They've come all the way over from Singapore to set this up. It's their first outpost in the UK. So, yeah, good luck. If there's a gap in the market, fill it.
I know I'm a mother of 4 and I've got my own business, and even when we sit down for tea at night, I'm still on my phone, I'm still emailing. So for me, it's kind of like, I'm wondering if these parents are working 24/7 and they're trying to offset the guilt because they're really time poor with the kids. I mean, I've got 4 boys and I do think I naturally pamper them because I don't know about you, Stephen, but when I was growing up, I was constantly told I didn't even know I was born, whatever that means. And so it's like, I think each generation we pamper our kids even more, you know?
But Davinia, when you're sitting down with your kids having dinner, are you giving them a crisp golden Spanaca pita with refreshing tzatziki, followed by smoky jambalaya studded with free-range chicken and prawns? Or are they getting beans on toast?
Funnily enough, Stephen, that's a no.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Right, OK, so the I-Paper go off Reeves blamed for UK inflation hike as national insurance rise hits food prices, and the Mirror are still banging on about MasterChef. Sous chef Tyrone set for legal action over his sacking. Well, John, there's a good law firm somewhere in the Manchester region, I believe, that's managed to help out a load of Afghans, so I'm sure they can help you out. But anyway, I'll start with the I-Paper. It's all we're going to have time for in this section. Is Rachel Reeves, Adam, to blame, do you think, for...
Yes.
The economic mess of it?
Look, as soon as the budget came out, I'm a small businessman, just got a pub. But I knew as soon as that came out, I rung my accountant, I rung my advisors, and they basically gave me a ballpark figure of what I've got to pay extra a year. It was around £25,000, £30,000. So I knew I've got to either lay people off or put prices up. I've actually ended up doing both. So I know as a small business, that is what I do. I speak to other restaurateurs, publicans, it's the same. So you know across the country this is happening. So you know inflation is going to go up because my suppliers are putting their prices up, I'm putting my prices up. It's impossible not to. Why did they not know that?
How much of this is squarely at Rachel Reeves' door, do you think?
OK, there might be bits. Inflation could be affected by lots of things, but my husband runs restaurants, and it was one of the first things he said as well. He says inflation's going to rise, and he says this is a jobs tax, and I'm going to have to start thinking about who I'm going to lay off. Now, he worked really hard not to lay off any of his staff, but we've lost, what, 125,000 jobs in hospitality up and down the country since Rachel Reeves brought this in.
All right.
So...
Go on this, what do you... So Reeves is now currently on front of the eye being blamed for UK inflation hike. Your view?
Yeah, well, look, all kinds of things affect inflation. I'm going to inject a bit of optimism into this because there's good news around the corner for small business owners on the high street. When I speak to them in my ward, the one thing they all want is business rates reform. They want business rates cuts, and that's what we're going to see. We don't know the details yet. It's too early, but the principle, I think, is fantastic. It's cutting business rates for small businesses and hiking them on larger properties like Amazon warehouses who can afford it, and it's that kind of redistribution we need if we want our high street.
The counter to that, I suppose, would be that the inflation means that higher grocery costs are passed on to consumers. So that's your average man or woman on the street who goes out and buys food for their kids, doesn't it? And those are the kind of people I thought Labour was supposed to really represent.
Sure, but you've got to put it into perspective as well. We look at what inflation's done over the last few years. This is, yes, it's a rise, but it's nothing compared to what we've seen over the last few years.
It's trending the wrong way. And you say about business rates, your Labour government, Rachel Reeves, just cut the discount that we was getting. So I'm paying another 40% more than I was paying under Conservatives.
Which was temporary. It was a COVID thing that was brought in.
But, you know, you add that onto a business and prices rise and jobs get lost. Labour say they're for the working people, and yet people are losing jobs at the fastest rate in 5 years.
But look at the big picture. Look at the state of the economy. What levers are you going to pull? You can't tax working people directly. Labour said they won't do that, and they're right to do that.
We tax them indirectly.
You tax the people that are employing those. So let's just say I let 2 people go. That's 2 people that haven't got jobs.
Sure.
Because of your budget in a small little pub.
Sure, I get that, but you have to find the money from somewhere. There's growth, there's deregulation, we can look at all of that.
Welfare would have been a place, wouldn't it?
Well, if we hadn't had rebels come out and make life very difficult.
Yeah.
And that has put Reeves in a tough spot.
I don't think the rebels just made life very difficult. It was a highly incompetent piece of legislation reform that you were putting through. The fault lies entirely at Keir Starmer's door, which he said so himself. They did not sell it to their party. It wasn't well put together or competent legislation. Their budget in October was completely incompetent. This was a government, remember, who kept talking about growth, then hit business and also talked down our economy, which even the OBR has said has been a massive problem. So
what would you do instead, though?
I wouldn't have talked down the economy.
What would you do?
I would talk up the economy.
No, what would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Not raise national insurance contributions.
No, what would you do?
So I'm trying to tell you what I would do.
Sorry.
I'm trying to tell you what I would do.
Please.
One, not talk down the economy. I would have talked up the economy because the economy was on the rise. 2, I would have not loaded all of those taxes straight onto business when I had spent 1 year telling them that I was going to help them.
Do.
Yes, but that's the point. You could lay some of those taxes on the business.
You haven't named a single thing that you would do instead, so it's really hard to take that seriously.
You have not letting me finish. I'm about to go to my third.
None of what you're saying is answering my question.
But you haven't let me finish. The third was then go on and tackle welfare, which you haven't. You put through a really incompetent piece of legislation.
So you're saying benefits cuts would have solved all of this?
Yes, no, it would have solved some of them.
All right, we're up against the clock. I was wondering whether or not anyone was going to mention the fact that we are spending quite a lot of money on illegal immigrants, but anyway, there we go. Right, I've got a load more coming your way, more detailed front pages and a big breaking story about Pakistan. Stay tuned.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, as we go through the rest of today, overnight and into tomorrow, we're going to see some wet weather pushing across western parts, and here there is the risk of some thunder. We've already had quite a bit of cloud and rain across the southwest today. That's because of a weather system that's pushing its way in, and it's going to continue to make its way northeastwards as we go through the next 24 hours. As a result, some hefty rain pushing across parts of Wales overnight, and some outbreaks of heavy, possibly thundery rain feeding in across Northern Ireland too. Further east, it's dry with clear skies, a few fog patches possible for some eastern parts of England, but for all, it is going to be a relatively warm night. Pretty warm indeed, actually, across the west. Most places seeing temperatures staying well in double figures. As we go through tomorrow morning then, a west-east split across many parts of England and Wales. Brighter, sunnier towards the east, more clouds, some wet weather towards the west. Across Northern Ireland, a fairly cloudy start and there could be some heavy bursts of rain around. Similar across the southwest of Scotland, but elsewhere across much of Scotland it's a fine sunny morning, albeit there will be a bit of low cloud affecting parts of Orkney and Shetland. Then as we go through the day, the cloud and outbreaks of rain feed a little bit further eastwards, but nonetheless some eastern parts staying dry through much of the day and just turning a bit cloudier as we go into the afternoon. The heaviest rain will be towards the western parts of Northern Ireland. Risk of some intense thunderstorms here. Temperatures for all likely to be a degree or so higher than today, which means we could be looking at highs of around 28 or 29 Celsius in the southeast. Then looking ahead to Friday, and there will be some further showery rain on offer, most of it towards the northwest, but a few outbreaks will feed further south and east, although some southeastern parts probably avoiding all of it and staying dry with some decent bright sunny weather and temperatures even higher still. We could be looking in the low 30s. Fresher and wetter as we go through the weekend.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
OK, I'm going to whiz you through all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, but let me tell you this now. The big story is not on the front pages. It's a GB News exclusive, and it involves Pakistan not taking back the grooming gang monsters. However, the government has, caved into a key demand from the Pakistani government. So I can reveal all bang on 11 p.m. when that embargo ends, not before time, and I will, of course, be taking you through all of the front pages as well. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash. So make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique